something virtually to celebrate because she couldn't do anything real.
Oh wow. We've been just 1 year away, yeah, from the virus.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you imagine? We were actually sitting through the graduation ceremony. I actually remember Susan was sitting right next to me, and Natalie was taking pictures of Shinar, me, and Chandra.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was all just 1 year back, and everything's changed.
Crazy.
Exactly. I miss traveling so much. Like I can sit at home during the lockdown, okay, no problems. Maybe I miss cafes and pubs and bars, maybe. I don't miss my work at all, but traveling.
Yeah, not
How is
traveling
it
is
in
a pain.
Kazakhstan? How is the situation
It's
with the
getting
COVID?
worse. So they have put another second time of the state lockdown again. So we cannot quit our houses again for 2 more weeks. The economy like is getting worse and worse, and our health sector is not prepared. We don't have enough beds. We don't have enough hospital availability, and etc. So it's better not to get sick. Plus, in Kazakhstan and in Russia and in all the Soviet countries, the area has a problem with the tuberculosis thing. So they have predisposition to the lung problems. And as such, it's like worse for us to be sick, ill, than for other regions probably.
Yeah.
It's interesting
Yeah.
you say that because I mean Haiti is defying all odds once more. You know how we're usually the worst in all the indicators, but this time around predictions were so pessimistic, and we are not having it as bad as expected at all. The death rate is very, very low,
I think
and I think the
most of the time outside, yeah, that's because of the climate and etc.
well, there are so many theories, and it's none of them is fully conclusive yet. But is it the climate? Because yeah, the countries in the south, but then it's what's going on in Brazil, what's going on in other countries in Central America. Is in the Dominican Republic next door to us has terrible. We also are the country in the region with the least tourism, right?
Yeah.
So least
Yeah.
chances of like people bringing in and the government was very proactive in terms of closing the borders very early on. They only reopened the commercial airports July 1st, so we'll see how that goes. But I was thinking, and some people are thinking, it has to do maybe with our immunity built from because everybody here has had malaria and like all these other diseases, and everybody has had a tuberculosis shot. So there's some people thinking there's a relationship between immunity for COVID, but now you're saying that it makes you more vulnerable, the fact that you're all prone to tuberculosis, right?
No. With the vaccine, it's better, but the area is like vulnerable. Why we're getting the tuberculosis shot? Because we're vulnerable. That's why. But the tuberculosis shot is said to help like from mortality. I don't know. But also I've heard that measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine also helps. So most of us got it like in the childhood, during the childhood. But if you're like 45 or 48 years old or older, then you need to get a booster shot. And it helps also from the COVID severity.
Okay. Well, in my family alone, like my sister and her husband and the baby's nanny and the cook at my house and our security guard at the office. And I mean, it's like everybody is catching it, but all the cases so far that I've known of have been really mild and very few deaths, thank God, so it's going around, but they can't restrain people in a country like this where all of the, economic sector, it's all informal. People are on the streets and they live in shitty conditions. So it's not like hygiene, and you can enforce hygiene measures. Hi, everybody else.
Natalie,
Yeah. So
Natalie, is your son in the States still, or is he back with you?
Sorry?
Is your son still in the States for schooling, or did he come back to you?
So yeah, you followed that thing, Susan. I had to evacuate my youngest in October because there was so much political violence here. Took him to New York. He's been in boarding school in New York. And in March, it was getting really crazy in New York. He had his spring break and he's been here ever since. My oldest was in DC. university at AU, and he was on his spring break in Madrid when they started closing European borders, and he had to quickly fly back to Florida. He's been stuck there because his school in DC closed in the meantime. I mean, it's been crazy past few months for us, but everybody's safe, and I have the 2 kids at home now for indefinite period of time. I mean, who knows when they'll go back to their campuses.
Good.
But
So,
no,
so you are in Haiti right now, Natalie?
I am in Haiti.
Okay.
so now Florida is closed or Haiti is closed for your son to come back.
Now Florida is open.
Open.
Yeah, I was just telling Sanjay, I have a niece there, and like the kids are on play dates and they're out on a date and all this. I'm like, what are you doing?
They're crazy.
Yeah.
The US, I mean, yeah, I don't understand what's going on in so many of those states. How is
Yeah.
it where you are, Sanjay, in Texas? How is it?
Well, I have been locked up in my home all day, so I'm such a chicken, if you can call me that I won't even go out. And even if I'm going out of my gates, I will use a remote to open the gates. So it's like I don't want to take any risk. If I get it in spite of that, that's fine. But I'm going to do everything I can to protect myself.
Better to be
But things-
conscientious. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in a very high infectious neighborhood. So like we're wearing masks. We don't use it in the backyard, but if we go walk the dog, we're wearing masks because it's just to protect ourselves, but to protect all the people around us. We're in a, yeah.
So Chandra and Slava, tell us what you guys have been up to. It's so nice to see both of you.
Go for it, Slava, go.
Hi. So what's happened since Harvard? Oh boy.
Oh,
so
The
so
world
I
fell
love-
on its head.
The world fell on its head. Before it fell on its head, I left Stanford and I had an opportunity to go to Russia and work there for a while. So a friend of mine runs a startup accelerator in Moscow. So, and I've been kind of helping him on the side, doing a little bit of consulting. And I was like, dude, why don't you just pay me like you would anybody else who's doing the same type of work for you and have me go to Russia. And he was like, okay, fine. So, so I went, and it was a very interesting experience there. The whole kind of startup scene there and how excited they are about it, and some of the challenges that they're facing. And of course, I'm coming at it with this sort of sustainability mindset. It's like, oh, what are the opportunities there? And, you know, what are the clean tech sort of innovations that are happening? And, you know, how are people treating sustainability? And it's kind of very raw. So, you know, I think it's a little early to kind of go, you know, full force and kind of dump all of this on them because they're just not ready to hear some of the things.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of interest. You know, they're looking at global trends, and they feel like, you know, they don't necessarily feel like they understand or agree with everything, but they do feel like they're missing out on cool stuff. So they're curious. So I've had some opportunities to speak with people and got on some speaking engagements too on the subject. Ended up mentoring some startups that are in clean tech and other startups as well. So I did that for a while, and then we went on a sort of a break, and I came back here, and then the world fell on its head. So now I've been stuck here, back in California. I'm doing a little bit of consulting on the side and kind of waiting for you know, the border to open up again. I mean, it's technically open, but if you go back, they put you on a 2-week quarantine. I'm not really ready to do that. I'm quarantined enough here. So yeah, it's been interesting doing a little bit of consulting. You know, I worked with a company that's an investment firm. They're an ag tech, and they're interested in putting a kind of taking the impact investment sort of a twist, and they had me review a proposal, and so that was interesting, and I'm kind of looking into more opportunities along that vein. But otherwise, yeah, here in California, the world's beautiful, you know, aside from everything that's crazy. You know, we have our plum trees and our apricots and our peaches, and we have a second harvest of lemons coming up. They'll probably be ready by the end of summer or early fall. You know, our apples are going to be ready in the fall. We have you know, the wildlife is great. It's interesting. The smells are different now that, there's a lot less driving, a lot less pollution in the air. I noticed, and I was walking at night because it's really warm during the day. I was walking at night and I noticed like it smells like the forest. Like, what's going on? I've never smelled the forest smell like in the middle of Palo Alto. And I realized that Palo Alto is such a green city. There's so many trees and it's so lush, but I never really smelled it. I smelled the flowers in the spring, but not that kind of, forest, with the soil and the damp leaves. So I started to pick up on that. So that's been interesting. But otherwise, just kind of following the news, following the craziness, kind of feeling the emotional impulse to respond and say something, but realizing that nobody's really listening. Everybody's just going off of emotion. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not, but I haven't really been vocal or involved in much of anything that's been going on.
No, it's interesting you said that because Susan and I, like I was saying, we're talking between 8:55 and 9:05, and we were waiting for people to join in. And we were talking about the positive aspects of Corona and how some of the environment and other things have been improved. So
Odd opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. So Chandra, go ahead. Tell us what you've been up to.
Well, yeah, guys. We moved over to Singapore, and so we've been here. I started working at PwC in their sustainability team, which has been fantastic. The exposure in this kind of country and environment in a firm like that has been really, really exciting. So yeah, just head down, working a lot with government, which is very exciting. It's always interesting when you're able to work with the government, and especially with a government like this who they're invested in creating a sustainable society. So it does help. It makes you feel like, oh, what I'm doing is important. It's not a waste of time. It's not a futile battle. So that's been really rewarding. Obviously, I don't think it's a forever position, but it certainly is. It's great for exposure, and it's great for getting out there and learning as much as possible. And real world application of what we studied is so like actually doing it, not just from like this academic standpoint where you're learning the processes, but like implementing them on the ground. That's been very interesting to see and to do. So yeah, that's been that. We've had like COVID's been here since January. We were one of the first countries to get it from Wuhan, and so we've been on high alert all year. And at this point, I'm like, well, I'm so used to lockdown, it's frightening.
I've watched so many TV series, during time.
Netflix.
I would love to say I have read so many books, but I watched so many TV series. Because I went through all stages, from excitement to depression. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I've never exercised so much in my whole life. All I do, I like treasure the 1 hour I get to go outside and go for a run. Like, it's so exciting because you don't even get to wear a mask here. Like, if you go outside, you have to wear a mask, but if you're doing strenuous exercise, you don't. And I'm like, yes, my little hour of freedom, normal life.
How do you define strenuous?
Well, if you're going, for some people it's a walk, for some people it's a run.
I've been doing the online Zoom training. Yeah, classes. And also I went through all the classes. I did Zumba, but Zumba is too intensive for my small house kind of, I need a bigger space or something. I ran into walls with all my dances and etc. Then I changed to yoga. Apparently I'm not a yoga person at all, because all the teachers said like it's impossible to do yoga with me. I'm too impatient, too nervous, and etc. And then I'm not doing the stretching stuff and etc.
You should try
I wanted to tell you guys, when you talked about PwC, because after Harvard I applied to the EBRD, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. I came there, I went through all the tests. Apparently application process is so long and so difficult over there. But I went through all the tests and etc. I got invited, and then And then I came to the office. I came as a star, you know. I came saying that I have graduated from Harvard. I'm like the asset of the assets over here. Do you have someone graduating from overseas, but from Harvard? And then, can you imagine? Everyone is from Brown.
Yeah.
Everyone from all other universities possible, Ivy League, European universities. I was like, Kazakhstan, really?
I know. I also thought, I was like, okay, this is the opportunity. Like, it's going to open so many doors, and then you move up into that level, and you're like, okay, but everybody else, like, what sets you apart here? I thought I'd worked so hard for this.
Exactly.
So
Anyway.
this is what you need to do, Chandra. If you recall, you, me, Natalie, and a couple of others were at that party, for the lack of a better word, and you made friends with that millionaire, like, you know, the guy who was just buying drinks for everyone. So now's the time. And I asked you, you know, hey, you know, and what do you think about it? And you were like, hey, one day I'm gonna call him and I say, hey, you know, you remember the girl that you met at that bar, and you know, you're gonna get money for your company or whatnot. Now's the time to do it. He may have
Now is the time.
already, but
We
We're talking
reckon now
about
is the
our
time. I thought
karaoke.
about that the other day. I was like, what on earth? How do I meet these people? I don't know why. Maybe I just have that face. Like, we should be friends. Oh.
this was what.
Sanjay texts you all the time, because I have also texted Sanjay like 1 week ago. I told him, Sanjay, I went on a with my colleagues. We actually went to meet the CEO of Chevron for the Eurasia region, Russia, Kazakhstan, and all the Eurasian countries. Apparently, the guy is American, but he came from Bogota, Colombia, and then the borders closed over there and over here, and he got stuck here at Ritz-Carlton for 3 months, and he was the only client at the Ritz-Carlton, and 20 people were going out for the work only to serve him because he was the only client at Ritz-Carlton.
Oh, my word.
We met him like for the work, but I came as an analyst, you know, just a general person, etc. And then he said, when I told him I have graduated from Harvard, I have so many friends, amazing network, etc. He said, we need to do something together. I have like so much money. Chevron has so much money. We need to do something together. And then like, oh, I have no ideas what we can do together. You know? But I said, yeah, of course. Let's do something. But then I was like, I definitely need Sanjay over here.
So let me update you guys on what I've been up to professionally since Harvard.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I went through a phase of complete confusion in terms of where I was going, what I was gonna do. Yeah, all of you know there's been a pretty chaotic political like situation in Haiti for 2 years now, and so much disruption. So I was set on, you know, it's my son's last year of high school. Maybe now I need to leave and look for some opportunities overseas. I reached out to some of you. I had some interviews. Nothing that was really calling me. And then, but I didn't want to settle down because I wanted to travel a bit. I needed some time to myself. So yeah, I did this beautiful Asia trip. And so I spent the rest of the 2019 really just reconsidering my options. And right when I was considering a position in New York City, a friend of mine who has a commodities import company in Haiti made me an offer to become the VP because they really needed someone to just handle operations in Haiti because he's mostly based in New York and the company was growing and they import water pipes and asphalt and like HSFO, mazout for electricity and petrochemicals. And I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't want to work in petrochemicals. 2 weeks after I was hired, but we did a 6-month agreement. I'm like, it will be a trial, you know, because I don't know where I want to go. Let's do a 6-month contract. I see how I like it. 2 weeks later, they closed the borders, COVID-19, whatever. And I felt so lucky that I had secured some income, you know, for the next 6 months and potentially longer. And, but the appeal of it was, it's a good friend of mine. And he's like, Natalie, I know this is not your dream job because you don't want to be working in fossil fuels, whatever. We just got this contract to be the sole importer of gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel for the government of Haiti for the next 6 months. So I'm like, this is not the direction I was thinking of going after my sustainability. But he's like, you have total freedom to steer our business in a way that we can transition out of petrochemicals in the next, few years and start finding ways for us to get into renewables. So this is a huge challenge in a way, because it's like you have green light, but there's no like preliminary structure. So now we're talking to companies about LPG and hydrocarbon like related, fuel distribution plants. And he was talking about, we were thinking about a refinery, and now I'm like trying to steer them away from that idea, because it's just very interesting so far, because I'm learning so much about this whole world. I've always been interested in energy, but I have no prior experience in it. And Will O'Brien has been like the biggest, sweetest asset in my life. He's been regularly reaching out to me to know how things are evolving career-wise. And he just put me in touch this week with, when I told him what I was up to, he just put me in touch with one of the current capstone students who works for Shell in Houston. She's based in Houston, but finishing her capstone at Harvard right now at the HES. And we had a long Zoom call last night, her and I. She was part of the group that put together the symposium on circular economy at Harvard last spring. And I've been asked to teach a 90-minute online course on sustainability and circular economy for this accelerator network for women entrepreneurs in Haiti. And I was telling Will, I'm like, I'm terrified. I've never given a lecture in my life. I don't know that much about sustainability in the first place. He's like, you know plenty. I'm going to connect you to the right person. So he put me in touch with this girl. She sent me all of the recordings to the symposium, and she coincidentally also works for like the biggest, oil and gas company on the nature-based solutions for Shell. So yeah. So now I'm gonna, really go through the material and establish contact with her. And I don't know, I don't know where this is gonna go, but I think I'm embracing this opportunity, and financially it's just welcome stability that I needed right now.
It sounds like a really, really massive opportunity. It sounds like
Awesome.
you're building, you're in there and you're building now, you're at baseline, but there's something big coming that you could steer, which is really, really, what an exciting place to be at, right? And for the current, like you say, yeah, of course. I mean, nothing worth doing is not scary, right? Like,
You just got an idea from, you just got an idea for what you need to tell your Chevron CEO from Natalie. Hook her up with Natalie's group.
You never know.
Oil and gas.
I went digging into my notes because I took this one energy and environment class for the master's, and I'm like, I have to refresh my memory of like.
That was E102. It was one of the best classes, actually.
Me too. It was one of the best classes, but somehow I didn't save any of the notes. I only saved like my final exam in my computer. I'm like, how come I threw away all the lectures and there were no books? And now I'm like, fuck. So if you took it to China and you have any of the material.
It was one of the compulsory ones. I think all of us took it. But
I think we all took it.
We had. And also I have the book, the name of the book. I have the book itself. I can send you as well.
Please, and send me, a link to a folder where I could access some of those lectures that he had us, the material he had us read. I tried to reach Professor Sanchez. He hasn't responded back. I told him about this opportunity and that, I know he's at the forefront of new technology for least developed countries, like into renewables, and I wanted to have an exchange with him. It's been 2 weeks and I don't know if he's going to respond. I hope.
No, you need to resend the email. I think he's losing the emails over there. It's going down or to another folders because he responds only to the third or fourth email,
Oh, really?
All the alerts.
Okay.
She knows. She's like, yeah, just send it 6 or 7 times. He'll eventually get to you.
I think he also has 2 email addresses, so email both of them 3 times.
3 times.
I don't have both. I only have one. So please share whatever info you have for
I'll
him.
share.
And also it was Zach over there. Remember the guy?
Zach
another one?
Zacharias or something like that.
Yes, he was over there as well. So you can email him. I think you can just, you know, do a summary of their slides, like for the whole course, most important slides and etc.
Okay. Thanks for the tip.
Natalie, you have to record your presentation and share the link with us, so we can
I will
support
ask
you.
that 90-minute course. No.
Share it. Come on. We want to support you.
Okay. I'll ask if I can have a recording. Thank you.
Remember at the graduation also a girl came up to me from Turkey, Elif, and I have met her for the first time at the graduation, but we knew each other like online beforehand. And when I was in Istanbul, I met her, and then she was pregnant with the 3rd child,
Yeah.
planning birth already when I met her at Istanbul. And then after me, she had a lecture at one of the best leading universities in Istanbul for the sustainability as well. So basically, apparently she's like lecturing for this whole time at various universities. And she says it's amazing because people are really interested in it. But then in Kazakhstan, I went to the school to give this eco-green friendly lecture. And I had such a trouble translating all the fossil fuels, renewable stuff into Russian. I was like, okay. But then apparently the school kids speak English better than anyone else. So then I went in English.
So you went through all this effort to speak in a regional language, and then you figured out
Yes.
English was easier.
But apparently Russian does not have like a ready vocabulary for being sustainable, you know?
It's true.
Slava,
Yes.
this is your opportunity. You've got to go build their dictionary. Okay.
Exactly, Slava.
Yeah.
You need to do that because I'm struggling over here.
Yeah. No, I found the same thing when I went there. All the business and kind of startup terminology, everything was in English. It's which for them it's, you know, they're used to it, but to me hearing it kind of going from mentally from Russian to, I guess, English and then back to Russian, it's kind of weird.
Slava, I was so happy when I heard you were in Russia because
Yeah,
was
me too.
dream. I was so
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
for you.
It's not a relocation yet. I've had 8 attempts at relocation and they've all failed. I'm going into attempt number 9 soon. But in the meantime, I had this cool opportunity. So at least I got a little bit of
But did you feel
experience.
like at home over there?
Come again?
Did you feel yourself as at home in Russia?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was definitely, I don't know, something about the people. Maybe it's because here I associate Russian with, you know, like friends and family, you know, living here in America. So when I went there, it's like, oh my gosh, everyone's my friend. You know? But it's a psychological thing, right? But yeah, it was cool. It was Moscow was beautiful. The last time I was in Moscow, you know, I didn't like the city very much, but now it's, you know, so nice, and they're trying really hard to kind of upgrade and modernize. But the regional areas are still a little backwards.
If you do relocate there, I promise I'm visiting you because it's on top of my list of countries. And
Absolutely.
China, I'll stop by Kazakhstan.
Yeah. We'll do a round trip
You can all meet in
when you're
Russia.
established.
Yeah, we should do
Slava,
like a global.
we'll just do a global trip.
There you go. Hey, Susan, you want to talk about the initiative you're doing with Danielle? You just spoke a little about it a little while back when you and I were on.
Oh yeah, all I was saying was we realizing that the pandemic was bringing new challenges to corporate sustainability people, as well as some unusual opportunities. My colleague at the World Bank and I we invited everybody that we were in groups with. So we have nonprofit corporate sustainability groups we're part of. She does a lot of things with the UN. We also had a corporate sustainability group for nonprofits and for-profits that we had lunch with every month. And we just invited all those people and hangers on that we knew and said, who wants to sit and talk, just kind of get together and talk about the challenges and the opportunities. And so we've started to create, we had about 50 people join us from all over the world in the end. And we've broken into a couple of working groups. And so we're trying to put together some guidance that might be helpful for other colleagues, for our organizations, but also for other colleagues. And we're talking about how we might promote that later on. But yeah, we've enlisted Daniel. He was interested, so we brought him in and gave him lots of work to do. But we've got like a group working on what facilities are dealing with, a group working on supply chain. That one's been struggling a bit. We have a group working on teleworking, business travel, which of course has made a big change. And then another group doing the framework. So really thinking about overarching principles that within the pandemic, health and safety remains paramount, but that's always been important, sustainability. So trying to get people to think about how to react to and in the context of the pandemic to stay sustainable, because it helps you stay healthy and safe and move us forward towards the green future that we still need to reach. So it's been interesting. It's been interesting. We're working, we should have some things to start putting out there, and hopefully I can share with this group then as well. But we've just been putting together like elevator pitches, PowerPoints, 1 and 2 page, 1 and 2 page presentations, working on different ways to make it punchy but quick, and then have the meat behind it. If you want to know more, then we have really detailed information that we've got into, and we're bringing together all this different research that we're not the only ones thinking about this. So we're trying to bring together that research on the ways to change your HVAC systems or your cleaning systems, or studies. There's a University of Georgia was doing a study on business travel, and it should be out now. I've been watching for it to come out, but any moment now it should be out, about how the pandemic has affected that and changed the viewpoint on it and so forth. And so just trying to bring all of that together, so anybody attacking it, we give them some ideas saying, here's the direction you should go, here's some ideals to shoot for, and here are all kinds of resources to back you up.
And I think that will be super helpful to the people who are doing the lecturing around the world. So I think whether that be Nathlation or Chandra or Slava or even me, right now I'm probably the most inactive on the sustainability front, but hopefully I will get into it soon. So, making long-term plans.
It's good to have people with a sustainability mindset, no matter what they're doing, because that's how we make the change. It's not just the people preaching to the choir. We need people out in those weird spots. I was going to say, Natalie, I knew somebody who was working for the EPA and doing all these very sustainable stuff, and then got called into the fossil fuel sector, and he debated it for a long time, but he also realized that he could make some changes there, and so made the switch.
Susan, that's amazing. That's so fascinating, because I think it is something we've all, being the people that we are, would have sat and thought about. Like how do we work our way out of this in a way that can benefit everybody else, and put something together that everybody else, it becomes like a guideline. Yeah,
we're trying to think too, like we've got enough people from enough different groups. It's difficult, but it's important that we're trying to think about the variety of situations that even corporate sustainability people, who are kind of our focus, are in, because some businesses are factories, some businesses are service, some businesses are nonprofit governmental advisory groups, and some are restaurants and bars. We have people from Pepsi in our group. We have people from Disney because of my connections in the group. And then we've got, like I said, UN, World Bank, Nat Geo, these kinds of, so a great variety, and investment firms, and just everything. So trying to be cognizant of that. I'm sure we're still missing things, but like you say, just trying to give some guidance and trying to bring all the research together and give them somewhere to ask the questions. Just, I don't know, I'm hopeful. It's frustrating. It's still hard to it's still hard to build it up because people are still trying to deal with their personal situations, and work situations are cranking up in other ways. And same thing like I have here at home, Sanjay and I were talking about, it's like first I was pretty lucky in terms of school. My daughter's school switched over really quick, was ready before the switch had to happen even. And as much as she hated it, it worked. But now there's nothing. And so it's really hard now to keep the house to where I can do some work. I'm starting to get up really early so I can get work done before she gets up and wants something to be happening. And I'm like, I got to get this paperwork. And everybody's struggling with those kinds of things. So I know that my colleague is she's excited by it. And we're also a little frustrated because we want it to just crunch in there, but we're all trying to juggle so many things. But hopefully very soon, I mean, the facilities group has really moved forward. The telework group, maybe even you guys would be interested. I'll see if I can pass it along. But the telework group had actually created an entire survey that organizations can put out, even customize, and just put out about how their business travel and their teleworking has been affected by the pandemic. And then we can look at all the information gathered by the different organizations to get a better sense of how things have changed, how the feeling about them has changed, the expectations for once we get into a different position in terms of the pandemic. So that, it's interesting, the progress, the different groups. Some have really charged forward, and others, the supply chain, I said, was struggling a little bit. But I'd done some things in there, so we're going to feed the group that stuff that I'd done for geographic. We're making it generic. Another Harvard grad, the one who was supposed to graduate this May and didn't get to do anything, she and I had put together this purchasing guidelines, sustainable purchasing guidance. And as long as we made clear to our bosses that it was not policy, and we made very clear, so this is not policy, we're not saying you must, we were allowed to say anything we wanted. So it was like, okay. So we really made clear to them saying, here's the kind of questions you should ask, here's the kind of things to think about, and very important, here's what to do when it goes wrong. Yeah. And so we're trying to imbue that into the rest of the work of this other group, to also say to people, this is giving you a direction to go in, ideals to shoot for, but here's the nitty gritty of getting there, because that's what corporate sustainability ends up being for us. We're the ones who have to convince people and try and get it to work. And we all have different hurdles, but you can work towards it, and there are good reasons. So we're trying to put together the short-term benefits to the organization, the long-term benefits to the organization, and concrete action points to start moving you in the right direction. But I don't know, it's, we're looking silver lining.
No, I think that's fascinating, and that's something that I think we all get involved in different initiatives. I'm supposedly in one of the corporate sustainability groups in my company, and
supposedly what?
So I don't know. I think there's such a loose structure right now that nobody really knows who's in the group and who's not. But, this is something that I can pass along and say, hey, there's some work that's already been done on this. And then, we can tweak it as we kind of see fit. And I'm sure all of us can do that.
Yeah.
The kind of thought we had to say, you can pass it on to we're trying to make it so you can pass it on to just about anyone and say, look, we're just pulling all our experience together. We're nonprofits, we're for-profits, we're government advisors, we're people who make stuff and sell stuff and all of that together, and we're all corporate sustainability people, and we did some of the legwork with you, and here's our advice. Yeah. And trying to be light, but trying to show there's substance there so people can learn from it.
Well done. Well done on putting that together. I mean, go you.
This is all on my colleague. It's all her. She's so fired up about it. And I'm like, okay, I'll help. So try to keep moving forward and not take responsibility for anything, because I don't know what happens tomorrow. But yeah, but we're trying. We're getting there. She inspires me.
Oh, that's really sweet. I was going to say, one of the interesting things I found with this, or interesting thoughts that has been sort of top of mind for me, and it was part of a reading we did in Will O'Brien's capstone class, and it was about resilience, building resilience through climate change, and how different climate change scenarios affect mental well-being and human resilience, and how that has sort of come to the forefront in this COVID period, with everybody having to be stuck at home. You know, it's you're either alone or you're with your family, you can't go out, you can't do anything, you're in confined space. It's mentally challenging to change so quickly your environment, and what that's like, and how do we build resilience around that, and how do we build resilience for other climate related issues that we may face moving forward. That's sort of been something really top of mind for me. So I know it's not necessarily related, but it does tie in, because if you're building a framework, you also want to make sure that while businesses can continue and adopt, you want to make sure you humans can too, right? And how do you go about doing that? So,
That's what, yeah, it's one of the themes in there. It's health and safety, it's resilience, it's equity. And so we're trying to build all of that into it, and rebuilding that connection with nature. We're building it into a regeneration. So it's understanding it and feeding back into it. So
fascinating.
Oh,
we're
that's
very
so
ambitious.
Yeah.
Very ambitious.
I'd love to see that when it comes out. If there's
Yeah.
I don't know, a folder
Yeah, we're
of
figuring out.
documents or what.
Yeah, we're looking for, is it going to be white papers? Are we going to put it out? We're just going to share it with our groups, but looking for those opportunities. So if you have ideas, send them along.
Will do. Super cool.
So yeah, I think we're almost close to 1 hour. I'm happy to go on if people want, or if we want to meet again some other time. I know some people wanted to make it but couldn't make it. Do you know what's up with Belen, Chandra? Because I know you and she keep in touch quite a bit.
I actually haven't heard from her lately. I just see her social media. That's how I've been, this is how we do these days. We get an overview of everyone's life through social media.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, I will actually reach out to her. I think we should set up another time.
Maybe we can do it every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I think this is as good a time as any, and it seems like each one of you has so many fun initiatives going on. I think if you want to just even pull up and share something, like maybe the next time, Susan, you want to pull up some of those things that you're doing and share it on the screen or something. Slava, if you've been up to something that you're doing, I mean, everyone, literally. And Natalie, I'm so excited about what you're doing. I don't think you need to look at the oil and gas field in a negative sense. One of the things I always try to promote is, hey, oil and gas is going to be there. Petrochemicals are going to be there for the next 40 or 50 years. Considering that they're going to be there, what can we do to mitigate what is currently going on? And I think that's the first step. Because you can just stay away from the debate, criticize them, and they're going to have their own lobbies and deep pockets and do what they need to. It's better to get inside that system and try and influence it. One of the things I've noticed with Chevron Phillips, which is one of the chemical joint ventures between Chevron and Phillips, is that they're starting to get very active on the sustainability front in Texas. So they're setting up, we have something called as the Texas Chemical Council, which I'm a part of. And so Chevron Phillips has actually got a team that's out there that's spearheading that effort, even though it's like, very baby steps at this point of time. But
they need to be part of the solution.
Exactly. And so I mean, I don't think anyone should have any mental block about being there. I know it's kind of like vilified a lot, but at the end of the day, it does employ a lot of people. They are finally starting to talk about plastic and single-use plastic and how to eliminate it, or transition towards an elimination towards single-use plastic, and maybe recycle, or we don't know at this point of time. But one field I'm super excited about is the field of bioplastics, because once you get into bioplastics, you're kind of just talking about biodegradation of plastics, and so that's an exciting field for me, because really that takes away a big portion of what people complain about plastics on.
You and I will have a conversation about the bioplastics then.
I remember, Susan, you were saying the bioplastics are not the end all be all.
Not
We're
a
hoping.
not a
I'm
thing.
not saying the end all.
Which
Depends what they are.
but-
Depends what they are, but yeah, just we have to learn. We have to get good about our labels, because there are bioplastics that are actually bio, but there are bioplastics they're usually still plastic, and it's not the answer yet.
I think there's greenwashing everywhere. There's greenwashing everywhere, and what I am referring to is I think maybe you set up some standards around what a definition of a bioplastic is. We don't have that right now, because people could get away with saying, hey, this is bioplastic and it may degrade after 2000 years, and that's a bioplastic, right? Oh yeah, we use this one molecule of God knows what, but I think there could be definitions around that. And I almost also see that as a transition. I think one of the debates that in the Enviro 101 and 102 classes is coal, right? So is natural gas a transition energy from coal to renewables, or is it not, right? So there's a lot of debate around natural gas and whether that's important or not. So yeah.
That debate is the bane of my existence.
Really?
To this day, that debate bothers me. I'm like, oh, because when you're trying to structure a formal thing, you're like, well, where does it belong?
Yeah.
Where does it go? I don't understand. So frustrating. Freaking hell. Sorry. I'm really bothered by that debate.
So where are you on that end of the debate?
No, Sanjay, it's 11 o'clock at night here. I'm nowhere on that debate right now. Didn't even want to hear natural gas.
So Shira, you were suggesting we meet in maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I could do that, or if someone else wants to take turns and do this, I'm fine with that. So whatever format you guys like.
Me, I'm thinking maybe we could try once a month to catch up, and whoever can log in, and we can, hear and keep recording and sharing the recordings. And maybe, from what one of us says, somebody who wasn't there gets, sees a connection or something that can be useful. Yeah, I'm sorry, my connection is really bad right now. So
Mine
I
is
think we
well.
can hear just fine.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what you guys think about monthly catch-up call.
Yeah, what happened there, Shina?
The sun
I think my
went down.
Wi-Fi went down or something.
What time is it in Kazakhstan now?
It's 9 p.m.
Okay, it's not as bad as Singapore.
Pretty late here.
Hey, one of the things I have been doing is I've been recording this call. So if I find all your email addresses, or if I don't have your email addresses, go ahead and send it to me via WhatsApp, and I'll mail you guys this recording, and we can even send it out to others in the group.
Thank you, Sanjay. This is such a great initiative. Thank you for taking it. And
So shall we do this again in a month?
Yeah.
See you all in a month.
yeah.
Stay safe. Stay safe, everyone. Stay healthy. And I'll see you in a month.
All
It
right.
was
So
lovely
it was
to
so nice
see
to see all of
everybody.
you.
It's wonderful to see you all. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. See you.
Bye.